So you're not, to clarify, the wrestlers who are contracted to the Grapple Group, are they paid for FWA shows, or is it that you're getting them contacts elsewhere? That's
how it works. No, how it works is that the monthly show, what we've done a trade of services, right? Yeah. How we work it is we work as their agent and we insure them. That basically we insure. They have now got accident insurance policies which they never had before. So what we said was it works good for us because we'll get their accident insurance policies, which are going to cost for them. It's more valuable than being paid for doing the show. But obviously we've worked a deal because we're getting them in bulk, so it's worked out. It works out better for them, but better for us because they wouldn't be able to pull. Well, they would never have the incentive to pull that together. So now, if one of our guys gets injured, if he ends up in hospital, if he breaks a bone, he's even got life insurance, which we pay for now. I mean, can you tell me another wrestling company that does that? It's never been done, right? So in return for that, they work those main shows for expenses only, right? But what they get is, and a lot of people said, oh, is that, that's, you shouldn't talk about this stuff, but I think it's important. But the reason that they want to do that is because it's not that we've worked out on those Broxbourne shows, because the money we're spending into recording it, making it look good, the Broxbourne shows are really not majorly profitable to us. They're not. It's a shop window for the agency. Our job is to make those guys look awesome, make the shows look awesome. If we make money back on the DVD, that's great. So it works hand in hand because those guys are going to work really hard because they know that. But basically, we send a copy of those shows to the head of talent relations for every company in the world. So those guys are going to work the hardest they've ever worked, which is going to be great for the agency because the agency is going to have people they can sort of pimp out overseas, so to speak. It's great for the DVD sales because it's like, wow, did you hear about the match that I read Gabe Sapolsky's report? It's amazing. But at the same time, it means that we're recession-proof in the fact that our biggest overhead for a show are the wrestlers. Now, we're hopefully we should announce a deal. We got there'll be an FWA show a week, basically every week coming up. They're going to they may be TV tapings. There's lots of stuff I can't really talk about. I'm sure that Tony Simpson will do that in his interview because he's been really sort of figurehead in this deal that we're bringing together. But every other show they'll be paid for, and we'll pay them well for that. But that monthly main show is the crux of the promotion. That is the thing that everything hangs on. So that's one of the ways we've managed to make it, for all intents and purposes, recession-proof. Because, to tell you now, because the equipment we're using, if we got to a point where people could, if we got to a point where there was a financial collapse, right, complete financial collapse, and people go, well, I love wrestling, I could go to a show, but I could only maybe pay £1 for a ticket, £2 for a ticket, whatever, then we'll go to a school hall and we'll say, listen, can we put our equipment up in your hall? We'll get our guys down, right? Those guys may even pay their own expenses because they still want the dream of going overseas, and we can still put on a monthly show that has no real costs. The equipment, we've got all these deals where we don't have that many. There are massive costs in recording it and film, but then TV deals overseas or however. I've spoken to, I will say actually, yeah, I've spoken to two companies. Well, one is a very big company that have already expressed that if they're happy with the way those monthly shows look, then they will help fund them if we come into financial trouble. So we've got that as a base. So that's what I mean by recession-proof, and that's the goal. It's sustainable. Me and Tony always say that's our word, sustainable. So once it becomes sustainable, which is such a basic word, but in British wrestling, it's not one you hear commonly.
All right, we need to move on, unfortunately, because we do have a few more things to talk about. But you mentioned too many people when there's a positive principle announced, if you like, don't mention it. So let's go there now. It's been announced that a proportion of all the profits from the FWA will go to this new charitable fund that's set up for retired wrestlers. What can you tell us about that?
Well, I mean, it was one of the things that again, Tony's got a business brain, so I'm a shareholder in the FWA, right? So that money is, this whole money grabbing thing, that's money that would have been going into my pocket, but it's the right thing to do. We need to present, we're not trying to beat the WWE. You can't beat the WWE because the WWE isn't wrestling, it's the WWE. You can't, it's not like, well, we're going to be a better wrestling company than Promotion X. That's easy because that's Promotion X, it's a wrestling company. WWE is a monster, it's a billion-dollar monster, right? So fine, we're not going to touch that. But what we can do is I've always said that I think the WWE has made wrestling big, yes, but it's not made it big in the right way. If it was big in the right way, there's no reason that wrestling couldn't be respected as martial arts are, as movies are, as sport is, because it's the best of all that kind of stuff. If synchronized swimming is a sport, then wrestling is a sport. I don't care what anybody says, right? So one of the main things, as a wrestler myself, I look at wrestling. I mean, okay, I'll give you one example. Sherry Martel, right? Now, Sherry Martel, when I was growing up, Sherry Martel was doing she was the valet for the Macho Man, Randy Savage, or the Macho King, and doing these massive, shows in huge arenas with Hulk Hogan. She was taking bumps. She's been in the business. She's someone that's been loyal to the business. But that's all she's done, right? She's been a wrestler, a valet. Kat said to me that Sherry Martel was really good to her. She had nothing but nice things to say about Sherry. And Sherry died alone in a trailer. She couldn't afford surgery, right? Now, I'm not pointing fingers. It's nobody's responsibility we are all responsible adults and we've all got to look after ourselves, right? But it's not so difficult in this day and age to set up something where I believe that if your injury comes from a direct result of you giving a long-standing service to not just wrestling, but maybe to one specific company, there should be a time when that company turns around and says, you know what, well, luckily we put a bit of money aside for you, and there's that there. Now, whether that's ever going to happen, whether that's going to happen, I really doubt, because I would, if the WWE printed a list of their morals and principles, I would really like to see that list. That's all I'm going to say. I have my, it's a very unpopular view, and I guess it is pointing fingers, but I'm just saying, if that is the standard bearer for wrestling, they do some of it amazingly well. I mean, you can't beat WWE for their promo videos and the way it looks, right? But in terms of the actual ethics of the company, it leaves a lot to be desired, right? So the charitable trust fund is our way of saying, look, we might not have the same money as WWE, but we're going to try and, the students from the BWC, which is the training system, is going to put a percentage of their profits to that charitable trust fund. So even students who have no idea who Jim Breaks or Johnny Saint or any Kendo Nagasaki are, they will start to go, that money, we've helped give that money towards. And so those guys who have gone through a lot of pain and have suffered themselves. I'm sat here at 29, and you can see I'm twitching and moving much. I'm in agony, right? And every day because of wrestling. That's because I took silly bumps that I shouldn't have taken, But there's guys out there in their 60s who think that the stars of today, it's like when I got Cabana and Danielson and Nigel McGuinness and Claudio to go to the wrestlers' reunion, and the wrestlers were like, those guys are, on the indie scene, those guys are big names. They were marking out, man, for the British stars, and the British stars loved it. They were like, these guys know who I am, and these guys will never sit there now when they need a hip replacement or whatever and go, well, nobody cares about my contribution, because everyone from the wrestlers to the promoters to the trainees are giving those guys a contribution. And we can't, it's a beginning, it's the start of something, but at least there's an effort being made to do something with it. And once again, it will stand up because it's the right thing.
It's certainly an interesting subject, the topic of, what's wrong with the ethics of professional wrestling as a whole, and you talked about WWE.
There are no ethics. That's what's wrong. There are no ethics in professional wrestling. What do you call a group of, when you go a group of wrestlers, right? I'm going to ask you this question. You're going to go and hang out with what? How do you end that sentence? You're going to hang out with the what?